Hola, bienvenidos una vez más a mi canal. Yo soy Mariana y en esta ocasión estoy en la FIL. Estoy con Hannah Nicole, que es la autora de Asistente de Villano. Yo sé que han visto que los he recomendado muchísimo, que he hablado muchísimo de los libros, me han encantado. La he volado por todas las redes sociales. Me pareció increíble el humor entre fantasía, romance, comedia, todo. Yo me la pasé muy, pero muy bien. Y cuando Hachette me dijo que Hannah iba a estar aquí en la FIL, yo dije, por favor, necesito una entrevista para ayer, por favor. So, thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to meet you.
I'm so excited
love
to meet you
your
as well.
books. I love your books.
Thank
because
you.
it's something very different that I'm used to read, because
Thank
they're so
you.
serious sometimes, and I was just having so much fun
Thank
with your books.
you.
I was laughing.
That's such a compliment.
I was like smiling the whole book. I was
I'm
like,
smiling.
oh my God, it's like
Thank
so
you.
incredible. So thank you so much for writing them.
Oh my God, thank you for reading them. That's so sweet. Thank you.
Is your first time here in
Yes, my first time in Mexico.
In Mexico
ever.
in general?
Yes.
Oh, I hope you like it.
Oh, I'm loving it so far. The food is amazing. I'm gonna be very sad when I go home.
I'm actually from here.
Oh, you're from Guadalajara.
I'm from
Amazing.
Guadalajara, so I hope you have a great time.
Oh,
and
I'm
you
gonna.
come back the next
I'm already
time
having a great
with your
time.
third book
Yes.
and another book and another
I would
and
love
another.
it. Yes.
And see you every year.
Yes, that would be awesome.
I have a few questions for you. The first one with Assistant to the Billion is, how did you come up with the idea? Because it's like so different from another books that I have read with
Yeah.
like romantasy and all of
Right.
that. But I wanted to know why you wanted to write a book about an assistant, literally to the billion.
Yeah, so the idea came from a TikTok sketch series that I started during the pandemic. I was at home and I needed a creative outlet. I joined TikTok and I found the book side of TikTok, fell in love with it. I kept watching like these really funny skits. So I started doing funny skits. Like, the first ones I ever did were like Bridgerton characters, because I was very into Bridgerton. I still am, love it. And then I started trying to think of like funny bits to do, and most of them were just like poking fun at fantasy tropes. And then I was thinking, at first I was originally going to do assistant to the fantasy heroine, and I was going to be like, at 10 o'clock, let out a breath you didn't know you were holding, and like, your hair looks perfect all day, things like that. But I had so many more funny ideas for villains, and I love villains, so it was kind of a natural thing to slip into. I posted the first video, and from the first video onward, I knew at some point I was going to write the story. I just didn't know when, where, why, how. But there's a comment on that original video that says like, this should be a book, and I had commented back, it's gonna be, I just don't know when. So that's where the idea was born, and that's where like really the characters were born too, because I made like countless episodes. I was making like one episode a day for months and months and months until I started writing the book. So at that point, I knew the characters really well, and that's funny to say because it was really just me playing the assistant and my phone, and I was talking like there was someone else there, but I was imagining like what the villain would say back, and what Becky would say in HR, and what Blade, the dragon trainer, would say. And then so the book was just kind of a natural conclusion for the series, and that's where it was born.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Evie, as a character, I love her so much.
Me too.
It's like so funny that she's such a sunshine girl, and she's working.
Yes.
Like, one of my funniest moments in the book is when it's her, I think it was her first day at work, and she's like, oh, it's so nasty like that I'm splashing ice while I'm walking. It's like the nastiest thing that I can do in my work. I don't remember what
She doesn't want to step on an eyeball.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like,
as no one does, really.
No,
it's probably not pleasant.
It's something that I have never think of.
Yes.
But it was so funny in the book. Like, she was worried that I didn't want to do that again, and I'm like, you did it once.
You've done it before.
What? I think that's what makes the book so funny to read and so easygoing.
Thank you.
Why did you want to make Evie as assistant to the billion, but as a sunshine?
Oh, that was such an easy thing, because originally the TikTok series started off as, this is what I think it would be like if I was the morally gray fantasy villain's personal assistant, and eventually Evie kind of like took on her own persona and became like her own separate entity. But I'm also like a really bright, optimistic, I try to be optimistic person, and I really love the idea of a character like that interacting with a character that is just like heinously evil and does like really bad things, because somebody who's like really not fazed by it and is just in a constant state of like, all right, well, I'm gonna poke fun at you until you laugh, and we'll see, or just kind of shocking that character with how blasé she is about like all the things he does. Like she's like, oh, there's severed heads on the ceiling again. He's in a bad mood this morning. Yeah, I think there's so much comedic value in that to me. And the dynamic is just so interesting because they're so opposite. And she's kind of such an unlikely person to be working for this man, especially so closely. But I think that's why they work so well together, that they're very much a balancing scale. And Evie kind of balances him and she balances her. And they kind of like push each other to like step outside of like what they both are a little bit. Like the villain kind of pushes Evie into like being stronger and more assertive and more confident, and the Evie pushes the villain into being like a little softer and a little less like kill happy, not pushing interns off the roof every 5 seconds because the hiring process is probably terrible and the paperwork, like it's a whole thing.
Heroine and the villain working together.
Yes.
She's just a good girl.
Yes.
And he is like doing like bad stuff
Yes.
and all of that.
Yes.
So it's like, I love their dynamic. I know there is a romanticism, you know, but it's like a little bit of slow burn. Like you see it coming, I want to know if you already know that in the first book, Tristan is already in love with her.
Yeah, so in the skit series, this is funny because when it came from the skit series originally, the first video I ever made, in my head, the villain and the assistant had already become their own two things in my head after the first video I ever shot. And I remember thinking to myself, they're in love. They don't know it, but they're both in love. From the beginning, I knew he was. And I like the idea too of like him like very subtly being in love with her at the beginning, where he's doing, from her perspective, it's like very subtle things that she could easily write off as like, okay, he's just doing that because of this. But then you get to his point of view and you're like, oh, he's obsessed with her. Wow, that's a lot. But yeah, I think from the beginning I knew that they were gonna be really in love. But there's sort of a thing where they're both, like people are like, oh, Evie's so oblivious. And I'm like, they're both oblivious. That's the funny part to me, at least when I'm writing, because I'm like, the villain is just as oblivious as she is. There was a really, really funny meme, and I'm so mad that I can't remember who posted it. But I always reference it because I'm like, it made me laugh so hard because it was someone that said, my favorite trope is when the love is requited. They're both just idiots. And I was like, that's Evie and the villain. Like, yeah, that's them. They both just like have no idea what's happening. He obviously doesn't know at the beginning, but it's, as a reader, when you're like looking at it, you're like, yes, okay.
He hasn't said the word, but you know.
Yes, you can feel it.
That's the thing that I love about books. When you know that they're in love, but they don't say the words.
Yes.
Like, you can feel it.
You can feel it.
Because it's like
by their
like,
actions.
Is she at work right now? What is she doing? I haven't seen it this morning.
Yeah.
Where is she?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God,
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
Rudy.
I love that.
Me too.
Those kind of thoughts are like so amazing.
Oh, thanks. I love them too. And when I'm reading other books too, that's what I look for.
I love reading Tristan, interested
thank
in
you.
Evie.
Yes.
At the end of the book, I was like,
Me too. They frustrate me. I feel like I'm their babysitter. They don't listen to me.
No.
They just do whatever they want. And I'm like,
it's their personalities. You
yeah,
know?
they've done they're honestly at this point autonomous. Like they do their own thing.
You're like,
yeah, it's like herding like cats. I'm like, come on, let's this way. And they're like, nope, bye.
No.
And I'm like, oh, all right. Well,
yeah, but that makes it like so much fun.
Oh, thank you.
I love them. They're like a really great couple.
Oh, thank you. I love them too.
Writing your book and making like so much fun can be hard sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
I want to know if you have some difficulties to do that in some part. Like, I want to make it fun, you know? Because I know it's your personality.
Yeah.
You're so fun.
Thank you.
So,
that's so nice. Thanks.
So I think in your book, you did the same because you're more or less like Evie, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I see you like as an Evie.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, but that's such a compliment. I love her. Yeah, I think I put a lot of my personality into the things I write. I don't know how not to. It just happens as I write. But yeah, there's definitely like difficult moments. Like it's not all like, oh, this is a breeze, this is easy. I think the more serious scenes are the ones I struggle with more. Just because emotionally they're more heavy, and I'm so inclined to make it funny if I can. But there are some scenes you just can't make them funny, and they have to be heavy for a second, because that's how life is too.
Yeah.
Like life sometimes can't be funny. It can't be funny all the time. Sometimes there's sadness and there's anger and frustration and all of those really, really important feelings for us to have as human beings. That's why with book 2 was interesting, because book 1, I said at the end in the acknowledgements that my goal is to make everybody laugh. And my goal with book 2 is just to make everybody feel. So if you laughed, great. If you cried, okay. I hope you had some tissues nearby. If you're angry, that's okay. Because it's good to feel all those things. Like, it doesn't feel good when you're feeling them, but it shows you that, like, you are processing something that's happened that's difficult. And for me, I process a lot of difficult things through writing. So they're difficult in the sense that I'm also processing along with the reader this difficult thing that whatever the character is going through. Like, I put a lot of things that I've had to go through in life, those emotions that I've processed a lot of them through my characters. And I think that those moments are difficult, but they're very gratifying when I'm done, when it's over, and I can go back and be like, okay, now this moment lives forever on the page, and it's something that this character went through and they got through it, and I will get through it too.
In the book is like a hug, because
that's so sweet.
Yeah,
I love that.
I cannot express with words how much I love your book. Like, I'm struggling to find the words because I had so much fun. I have read some books that I can count with my fingers.
Yeah.
How much I love them, and why I love to read.
Yeah.
Why I love to sit and spend hours with a book. I read a lot.
Yeah.
And I have enjoyed a lot of books, but there are a few of them that I can say, this is why I love to read.
Oh,
and
thank
yours
you
is one
so
of them.
much. That's such a compliment. Oh my gosh, thank you. I keep saying thank you, but I really mean it. Thank you. That's so nice.
I will say that I'm a funny person because
I can feel it.
I like to make a lot of jokes.
Yeah. And the best kind of people.
Yeah. And I like dark humor sometimes.
Oh, me too. But you gotta have the right crowd for that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'll get someone and they're like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "No, it's funny. Laugh. Like, it'll be awkward if you don't laugh."
Sometimes when I say something, I'm like,
"Oh no,
it wasn't
it wasn't the right.
No, it wasn't the right time." Because my mom is like that. So I was like so familiar with the book because I haven't read a book that I feel like so reflect in a character as well. So that's why I love Evie.
Wow.
I'm not a sunshine. I'm more like a black cat sometimes.
I like that. I love a black cat character.
Yeah,
but
sometimes
so fun.
I'm like that. So Evie is, I love her. And I want her happy ending. Please.
Shall see.
We'll see. I want to know if you're happy about the route that you're taking Evie to the end of the book. Like,
if I'm happy with where she's heading?
Yeah, no, not you, Evie.
Oh, is Evie?
Is Evie
That's a
happy?
different question.
Yeah, that's a different question. Because you're like, yeah, I'm doing that. But Evie, is she happy?
I think yes and no. I think that there's obviously some moments where she's probably really hates me. Like, please let me breathe for a second. But no, I think that in the long run, yes, because Evie kind of started out in the first book very people pleaser, very bend over backwards for everyone to the detriment of herself. And she's still dealing with that problem, but she's getting progressively better and better at standing up for herself and not doing that and not twisting herself into knots for other people that don't deserve it or that don't treat her very well. So I think that the process of getting there, she might not like me for, but the actual like evolution of kind of finding like strength within herself, I think she'd be happy with where we're heading, or I hope she would.
Yeah, like
I'll ask her later.
And she was like, no.
Yeah, she'll be like, no, you lied.
You're lying.
You lied to those people, right to those people's faces. I'll be like, shh, don't tell them.
And another character that I love is Raymond.
Ah, yes, Raymond.
The frog.
Yes.
Why did you make it a frog? Like, why is a frog? Like, it can be like a cow, a horse. Why a frog? I was like,
yeah.
Why?
It's so funny because he wasn't originally in the book. So he wasn't in the first draft of the book. I always love saying that at events because it's followed by like a because everyone loves him, and me included. Like, I love him so much I can't really picture the book without him in it. So he's such a magical character to me because our cover artist drew him. And he, like, along with like the other beautiful art that's on the book 1 cover, while I was doing like developmental edits, so I was cutting scenes, I was moving scenes, I revealed something really big in book 1 originally that I took out that I didn't reveal in book 2 either, so we'll see when I reveal it. But it was like a really big secret drop. And because I moved that, I was like cutting so much and rewriting. When we saw the cover, my editor and I were like in love with him. And we were discussing him back and forth, and it was kind of like should we put him in the book? Like, should he be in the book. So
he stole the book.
Yes, he stole it. We had an edit round called Ad Frog, which was the most fun I've ever had editing anything. Because sometimes editing's really fun in that you're like, oh, I'm moving the pieces exactly where they're supposed to go. But this was like adding a puzzle piece in that was missing. And it was so fabulous because he so easily fit into every scene that I put him in. It wasn't hard at all. Like there was no difficulty. And when I read it back, it didn't feel like he just dropped in there. It felt like he was always there. It was just waiting for me to fill the gap.
Yeah.
That he wasn't there yet.
With the signal.
Yes.
Please add me.
Yes, he was standing on my desk like, help. Like, he put me in the book right now.
And I love the interaction between Tristan and Raymond. Like,
yes.
It's like,
it's very Donkey Shrek.
Yeah, it's like
dynamic.
Like their personalities, like
they're
like
funny.
So opposite. Tristan and Evie, they're so opposite.
Yes.
But Raymond and Tristan,
they're a little
something
opposites
else.
too. Yeah.
It's like something else. Like I love their interactions, and Tristan is like.
It's very like they're like around the same age, but it's very like big brother, little brother.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I'm like,
Tristan,
oh my God, stop! Like you're really.
Yeah, Tristan. I know you're a frog, but you're gonna learn to fly.
Yeah. We were gonna just see like how far you make it.
What can you tell us about the third book?
Oh, so the third book's been a lot of fun. I'm kind of dipping, like book 2 was interesting from book 1 because book 1 started out really comedic right away. Like it was already really satirical. Book 2 was a little different in that it was still really satirical in a lot of ways, but the beginning of book 2 is like a little bit heavier than book 1 was tonality wise. And of course, like eventually we got back to that. And book 3 is kind of like book 1 and 2 combined in that there's like some heavy moments, but I have like such a book 1 feeling while I write it, like where I'm making new discoveries with the characters that I didn't anticipate, and I'm laughing so much. Like every scene I'm laughing. There's some scenes I'm crying. But it's book 3 is just going to be more of everything. So we're expanding on characters that maybe we didn't get to expand on in book 2. We're definitely getting more backstory on the villain, on his family, on we're getting more development from Evie as well. So it's just kind of more. I said the same thing about book 2, but it's like book 3 is the same way where it's just more of everything, more romance. We're definitely gearing up romance, not just between Evie and the villain. There's other characters that are having their moment. I wrote a scene the other. I wrote
Tristan's sister, maybe.
I don't know.
I hope. I'm waiting for that story.
I'm remiss to call any of the characters side characters because they're so important to me and to the plot. And they're just essential characters in my mind, but I love side romances so much. So if I can sneak them in there, I will. Like Evie and the villain are obviously the main couple, but I love sneaking in scenes because then I'm excited to like dip into other characters' POVs in those moments because I'm like, oh, we got a scene with them now. Like, so I wrote a scene the other day. I won't say what it was, but I was squealing. I couldn't take it. I was like kicking my feet. I was like running around the room, and it was such a short little scene. It was like maybe like a 3-page chapter, but that was enough. It was with these 2 characters. I won't say who they are, but I've been very excited about their dynamic for a while.
You love your books, and I can tell.
Oh, thank you.
And you can feel that in the books. So
that's sweet.
So
thank you.
I'm so happy to hear you talking about your books. It's like it makes me like so excited. Like I need the third book.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh my God, I keep touching the mic. I'm sorry if I messed up the audio.
I'm like, are you staying in this hotel? Because I'm gonna go to your room, install your computer.
Oh yeah, my computer is upstairs. I am driving.
Upstairs. So we're on the 3rd floor. We're like 20 more to go.
You'll find it.
I'll find it.
You'll find it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for asking so many wonderful questions. It was so nice chatting with you, and you've been so sweet. Thank you for all the nice things you said.
Thank you so much, and I can't wait to read the 3rd book.
Thank you.
I'm super
excited
excited
for you to read it too.
Bye.
Bye.